Well, we find ourselves 27 minutes into this 8 o'clock hour on this beautiful Tuesday, the 10th of November, here at the Mighty 90, listener-sponsored Pacifica Radio, right here in a 100-year-old house in the Montrose neighborhood near downtown. And we've been in this building for 40 years, 5 years before that downtown, and what's now the Alley Theater parking garage. But KPFT has been listener-sponsored and commercial-free for all 45 and a half of those very same years. And however you came to find it, in front of or behind the pine curtain, inside or outside the walls, on or off the island, up or down the coast, anywhere on Earth or in near Earth orbit, thank you for being there. Brilliant move. Well played. Thank you for your support. I'm Dwayne Bradley.
And I'm Marlo Blue. Student newspapers, a breeding ground for famous journalists and writers for so long. But how is it that these days, when everybody can have a Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or Snapshot account, how do you survive as a university campus newspaper? Well, that's one of those questions we're going to be asking our guest today. It's Alyssa Foley. She's editor-in-chief of the Houston Community College student-run newspaper, The Egalitarian. And as a journalism major and a sophomore at Houston Community College, Alyssa plans on transferring to either UT or U of H next fall. And we welcome her to Open Journal.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved in journalism?
Actually, I was undecided on my major last fall, but I've always been good at writing, public speaking. That was always my interest. So when I saw an advertisement, come join the student paper, I jumped on it and I just got involved, and I've loved it ever since. I like journalism because I've always been a very curious person. I always like asking questions and being a reporter. I mean, I can go up and ask anyone questions that I want, questions I've always had, and then just I get to have those questions answered, and then I write an article on it. So it's been a lot of fun, and I've gotten to meet so many people, and I've loved it ever since. So then I did decide on my major was journalism.
Do you find that writing, especially for a newspaper, is different from your regular styles of writing?
Yes, it's absolutely different. It's very different than like the writing you would do for an English class. One, we do Associated Press style instead of MLA style. And in English writing, you do a lot more flowery language, very descriptive. In news writing, it's more about facts. You want to state the most important thing first, not, it's not essay format. It's the most important information first. So it's very factual. So, I mean, I'm the editor. Whenever I get a new writer, I always have to kind of train them on that, because usually their first article that they hand in to me is like, it's written like an English essay. So I was like, okay, we need to work on this. But it's, as long as they have good content, I work on with them. And we've all gotten better at our writing and news writing. And we have a good advisor who really directs us in that way, too, to have really good journalistic standards.
Now, of course, there are so many different campuses for HCC. Does your newspaper actually include all of the campuses?
Yes, we are district-wide, so we try to cover everything HCC as much as we can. We have Central, Southwest, Northwest, and Northeast. We have student reporters on all those campuses. We've really been missing out on the Southeast and Coleman because we haven't gotten writers. I mean, everyone at Coleman is a health major, so there's no writers at that campus. And then Southeast has a lot of workforce, so we've been trying to recruit writers from those campuses who are already there to make that their beat. But in general, we try to cover everything HCC. I mean, we're the student paper for Houston Community College, so we should cover everything Houston Community College better than anyone else.
So what does that actually mean?
So that means covering the student groups, covering the HCC Board of Trustees, covering the student government, covering any issue that affects the Houston Community College, the community, the students, the faculty, everything there. We also go outside of HCC, and we also cover Houston news, local politics, and even the sports. Like, we had passes to cover the Astros this season.
Oh, that's great.
Nice.
At least a good one to be doing it on this year.
Just to contextualize this for our listeners, how many campuses does HCC have, and how many students are actually comprise the large student body as a total universe of students in HCC?
HCC has lots of locations. They have 12 main centers throughout the city, so 12 big hubs.
Right.
It's the 4th largest community college in the nation, and there's over 60,000 students enrolled.
Wow.
That's huge. When we actually invited you originally to do this segment, we had hoped that we would get a couple of other editors of college newspapers, university newspapers to join us, which didn't happen. But one of the reasons why we wanted to have you here is to talk about the future and the future of you as a student and a young person looking out on things. First of all, I want to ask about your education. I mean, do you find that going to a school like HCC is good? Do the benefits outweigh what could be onerous costs to go to school?
I feel like Houston Community College is a good place to start for a lot of people. For a lot of people, I feel like this is where I should be right now. I'm glad I didn't go straight to a 4-year because I was undecided on my major.
Yeah.
So if you're undecided or if you're not sure how you're going to pay for college, community college can be a really good place for you because, you can try out lots of different things and lots of different classes and there's less risk because, our tuition is really cheap. It's in district is like $1,000 a semester. So, and I feel like for us, HCC is totally worth it. If you want to try college but you're not sure about it, there's very little cost to going to HCC, and there's so many benefits. I know that, me and most of my friends, we're not going into debt because HCC is good. If you need money, you can get financial aid. The HCC Foundation is good on scholarships. If you need help paying for school, you can usually get it. I feel like very few people take out loans, and if they did, it's because they didn't apply for financial aid a lot of times, or they didn't know to.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. And what are your hopes for what you're doing now? Do you plan on, you're majoring in journalism. That's a big start right there. What do you see as the future of journalism?
For the future of journalism, I feel like journalism is still absolutely necessary. People still need to know what's going on in their community, what's going on in their city, what's going on in their state, in their nation, in the world. So journalism, it's not going to go away. We still really need it. But journalism, it does need to adjust and it does need to change with the times. Articles get shorter. We have 120 character tweets, pictures, everything. So it just does have to adjust for the new media, but it's still absolutely necessary. So I feel like journalism is just evolving and it's changing. But I kind of see myself as maybe sticking with journalism for a while. I wanted to choose a major that I would at least stick with for 10 to 15 years. So I feel like I would want to work in journalism for a while. I don't know specifically what I want to be doing. I have really enjoyed editing and I do enjoy writing. So that's kind of where I see myself going.
Do you see yourself as perhaps in a newsroom of a large paper? Or?
Yes, I would love to do that.
That's fascinating. And what about citizen journalism? As all the new social media profiles come down the line, all the platforms, how do you think that's influencing professional journalism?
Well, I do believe in citizen journalism. If you see something and you know someone needs to say something about this and you know about it, you need to speak up. You have the social responsibility to speak up. So I do believe in citizen journalism. That does have its place. I also believe, though, that we do need professional journalism because they know what they're doing a lot more and they can maybe help guide the citizen journalism. But I feel like everyone kind of has the ability to, there's the responsibility to speak up on injustices, on things that are happening and things that they see just to help make this, a better world. So,
what about ethics?
Like media ethics?
Yes.
Oh, you should absolutely be, ethical in everything you do in journalism. We have an advisor. Our advisor's name is Frederick Batiste. I'll name drop him. He's really good on pushing. Hi, Fred. He's really good at pushing us. He said, you should act like you're a professional journalist. He has us go by the Associated Press handbook, the ethics, the AP style. He's like, you treat your work. You're just students, but you treat your work like you're professionals. You may fall short sometimes, and we do a lot. But we're all learning. But you should act like you're professional journalists. Follow the journalistic ethics. And so I feel like we all try to do that in our newsroom.
So as Editor-in-Chief Alyssa Foley at the Egalitarian, the HCC student newspaper, you said as the Editor-in-Chief, a new person comes on board and you want to get them trained well. What was your training like? You said a year ago you were not even sure what your major was going to be, and now you're in journalism, and now you're the editor of this student paper. What was the training experience like for you, and what did you go through to become the editor-in-chief of this paper?
For me, I mean, when I first started writing for the Egalitarian, I've always been good at writing, so I didn't need that much help. I did need more guidance on how to write newspaper style, so I actually took a class. It was from our advisor, Fred, news writing and news and media writing. So I took that last spring, so that really helped me develop. There's a whole class on it.
What was the biggest thing that you learned from that class?
Well, just how to write, like, inverted pyramid style. Like, you write the most important information first, how to write a lead, how to write all
Don't
that.
bury the lead.
Don't bury the lead.
Tell them what you're going to tell them.
Yes, and then tell them. So.
And then there's the 5 W's, is it? Who, what, when, where, why?
I've had those memorized since middle school.
Well, so let me, there's a lot of things going on in the news right now. One of the things that we didn't get to talk about today in Trending Topics, of course, was what's been going on over at University of Missouri.
Mizzou, right.
Yeah, Mizzou. If that had happened on your campus, how would you have handled the press?
Well, one, I would try to cover it myself, too. I mean, if it's something that happened on campus, I mean, I want to be there to cover it. I'll call, at least one photographer, come in and cover it. We'll get it on our website. We'll get it, trending on social media and get all the students, inform all the students about something like that. I would try to get the story myself, and I feel like, that's kind of like our home base. So the other students, sometimes they might feel more comfortable talking to us, or we know the area. I feel like we would be able to cover that better than even like outside news sources, because we know the area, we know the student population. The student population might be a little bit more forthcoming to us. I mean, they might be our friends there. So I feel like I would want to cover it. And if the other news media comes in, that's fine. But like, I would want to cover it, and I would want to cover it the best if it happened on my campus.
Do students often come to you with stories?
Yeah, I get emails a lot, and then I try to reach out to all the student governments, all the student groups, and I tell them I'm here. If you have any stories for me, come let me know. And I do have a lot of people, they'll add me on Facebook, and they'll send me stories via Facebook message, which is fine. I get stories like that all the time.
What is your Facebook handle, as it were?
HCC Egalitarian.
And same thing for Twitter?
Yes.
So if anybody needs to follow you, it's just hashtag HCC Egalitarian?
Yes, it's at HCC Egalitarian.
Okay. All right.
So, speaking of topics, analogous to this Mizzou football team coming out and then the school changing, what did HCC, what did the Egalitarian do in terms of this last election process in the city of Houston? Students are notoriously reputed to be non-participative in the election process and are underrepresented, though there's large numbers. Many of them are portrayed in the rest of the media as jaded and not really caring too much about civic engagement in terms of particularly municipal elections. So how did the Egalitarian, for example, handle, say, Prop 1? That was, I guess, the hot item, along with choosing, folks to be in the runoff for the mayor and such.
Well, we had one writer, Marie Louisa. She was very interested in writing about politics. So she actually just joined the newspaper staff at the beginning of this semester. And I asked her at the beginning, what do you want to write about? She's like, I want to write about politics. I was like, what about politics? She said, I want to cover the mayoral race. Mm-hmm. So she got interviews with 5 out of the 7 candidates. She's just had an interview with Denise Parker, and she asked all the candidates about Prop 1. That was one thing she was very interested in. So she did a really good job. That was kind of her beat, was the local politics. She covered that very well. And then we wrote about as much as we could. And then we did pretty much a public service announcement. It was the week of when it was the last week to register to vote. We made sure all the students know, because I feel like that's a big thing. A lot of students, I'll vote in this election. And they wait until the day before election. They realize they're not registered.
Yeah.
They didn't realize you have to register to vote 30 days before an election. So, yes, we were trying...
At least here that's the way it is, sadly.
That's true.
Yeah.
So we were trying to push that. And then at University of Houston downtown, they had the Walk to Vote. So we covered that, and we kind of promoted it before it happened, and then we went and covered it too. So we've been trying to push especially the local races, because that is important. That does affect us as students. We're all citizens. We're all There was HCC trustees. We elect our own trustees if you're a citizen and you vote. So that's a big deal for all the citizens at Houston Community College, all 60,000 of us.
That's 60,000 right there. All right. Well, that's good. Do you find that students are interested enough in politics?
I feel like there is a lot of students who are interested in politics, but I feel like a lot of students kind of feel jaded, like their vote doesn't count or their voice is never heard. So, I mean, that's understandable, but your vote does count, especially like local elections. They can be decided by just a few votes. I feel like politicians, they should listen to students. I feel like some do. I mean, there's a way you can get your message across, and I've been really, I mean, as editor, I want like the Egalitarian to be a platform for students. If you have something you want to say and you have a good argument, and, you know, well-supported, well-written argument, I'll help you kind of guide you with that. But I feel like that should really be a platform for students, especially if you feel voiceless or you feel like no one's listening to you. I want the Egalitarian to be kind of a platform for that, because we have so many different students. We have a large international student population. It's a very ethnically diverse college. We have all kinds of students from just out of high school to going back to college. I think our biggest age group is like 22 to 26-year-olds. So it's a very diverse college, and there's a lot of different people with a lot of different backgrounds and so many different things to say. And I've always wanted like the Egalitarian to be a platform for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a good thing to do. You better believe it.
Alyssa Foley here, editor from the HCC student newspaper, The Egalitarian. Let's talk briefly about the paper itself. It's been around for about 40 years, but then again, not always. So how does someone pick up a copy of The Egalitarian?
Right now, you cannot pick up a copy of The Egalitarian. We have not had a print edition this semester. We're only online at hccegalitarian.com. The printing contract, we were supposed to get one this fall. It was not approved, actually. Our advisor had different printing companies from all over Houston submit bids for it at the beginning of the semester. We shot for a date in late September because we knew it might take a little bit of time to get approved. We had the paper laid out, ready to go, and then they found out they were supposed to approve. We were expecting them to approve it the week before. It never happened. You cannot. We have racks at every main HCC campus. You cannot pick up the Egalitarian. We had print editions last semester. We don't this semester. We're expecting to give them back in the spring. The reason for that is because Houston Community College is kind of going through a very big shift right now. It's the banner of transformation. So they restructured the college. This began last April is when the chancellor announced his transformation plan. And a lot of that includes shifts in the administration and the college structure and in the budget, because the budget has been the thing that's been affecting so much of HCC in many unexpected ways. I mean, there's been lots of hiccups with that. So for the transformation, I mean, it shifted from, it used to be 6 colleges, now it's just 1 with 12 centers. I mean, it's all kinds of things like that. A lot of it was getting rid of different chairs and different administrators, kind of consolidating it. So some of it was, I mean, a lot of the transformation has been positive.
Streamlining it.
Streamlining it, yes. Mm-hmm. But like, I feel like a lot of it they didn't think completely through before they did it. They didn't figure out the budget before they did it, because at the beginning of the semester it took several weeks. We were into the semester and none of the student groups had received their student life funds yet. So we've been struggling with that. And that's why the student paper didn't get approved, is because they've been having budget issues. So.
All right. Alyssa, stay tuned with us. We're going to pause briefly here. It's about 14 minutes in front of 9 o'clock. You're tuned to the Open Journal on Pacifica Radio, KPFT in Houston, the mighty 90. Thanks for being with us. We'll be back in one moment after a check on traffic and weather.
And as the turning of time's wheel meshes with the rotational velocity of this stone spear pushing us along at just over 1,000 miles per hour, it'll be ephemeral few make our way, hold on to hope even as we live beneath the inevitability of the turning gears. This 10th of November, a gift of possibility and fine weather, 71 pleasant degrees on Dr. Fahrenheit's scale out of doors right now, warming to a peak of 80 degrees, stopping by, not stopping, all the shades of nice in between. Should you wish to picnic today, rain shan't interfere with such, with the mosquitoes and the green life around us to refresh with water again tomorrow night. Another dose of Arctic air to come along with that as well. High of only 72 tomorrow, high of 67 Friday, It's going to be a chilly weekend, highs only in the mid-60s. Checking traffic, Gulf Freeway inbound is recovering from those multiple accidents. It's back to its usual pattern of just slowing near Hobby Airport. Dixie Farm Road downtown, presently 35 minutes. A couple accidents report on the loop. Counterclockwise at the Southwest Freeway, there's a heavy truck accident in the two center lanes. If you get past that one, there's another accident in the two center lanes just before you get to the Katy Freeway. Coming inbound Southwest Freeway, there's another wreck reported at Hillcroft that just popped up in the left shoulder. So do be careful with all of those. And everybody be safe out there as we continue on this Tuesday and continue with KPFT's Open Journal with Marlo Blue and Dwayne Bradley.
Shouting out. All right. Thank you, Patrick. We are now 12 minutes in front of 9 o'clock, and you're tuned to the Open Journal on Pacifica Radio right here in the heart of the Petro Metro. Alyssa Foley in from the HCC student newspaper, the Egalitarian. She's the editor-in-chief over there, and we welcome her to the Open Journal today. I'm Dwayne Bradley.
And I'm Marlo Blue. Alyssa, so let's talk a little bit more about people who actually work on the paper. What do you have to do, or what do you have to know in order to work on the Egalitarian?
Pretty much to work on the Egalitarian, you just have to be willing to work, and I'll be willing to work with you. The other editors are willing to work with you. We take photographers, writers, we're looking for more editors, cartoonists. We've been wanting to get into cartoons for a while. We haven't found someone to do cartoons. We always need more writers and photographers, so that's the main thing. If you are willing to work, I mean, a lot of times you should have some writing experience, that always helps, and some photography experience. We've had people come in and they'll start from nothing. I mean, we'll let you try. If you want to try, maybe your first article might not turn out, but we'll give you feedback, and if you want to keep going, you can. So all you have to do is kind of volunteer. I mean, always, you can come to me. My email's like Foley, Foley, at HCC Egalitarian. So Egalitarian is EGALITARIAN. That's Egalitarian. So
where'd that name come from?
The word egalitarian, egalitarianism is the belief in the equality of all people, from national origin to creed to gender to any identity you might have. Everyone's equal, and everyone has a voice, and everyone's voice, like no one voice should rise above the other. That's the belief in egalitarianism. So to have the egalitarian, that's the equality of everybody. I feel like that's really suitable for a community college, that we have such diversity at a community college. I feel like that's a really good that's a really good name for community college newspaper.
So you and your colleagues, do you get course credit? Do you get like work study program?
You can,
time and things like that.
If you want course credit for it, our Egalitarian Editor can set up an internship class for you. I know we have at least 2 students doing that right now. So if you want it, they just set it up for you. I've never done it because I didn't need the credit. I mean, I have enough credit hours all figured out. But if you want to get credit for it, you can. They've been talking about, the school has been talking about, right now we're all volunteers. No one at the Egalitarian is getting paid. They've been talking about paying us, but been talking about paying us for quite a while. It has not happened yet. We have our jobs posted on the HCC job site, but they haven't posted my job, so I haven't even been able to apply for my job. I have not gotten paid. I've been editor for just over a year now.
How much time should someone budget if they want to be a volunteer on the Egalitarian?
Well, it depends on how much you want to get involved. If you want to write 1 article a month, that's fine. If you submit good content, we'll publish it. If you want to write 3 articles a week, that's great. You can do that too. I mean, it's just how much time you want to put into it and how active you want to be. So, I mean, one story, I mean, you have to go cover it. That takes time, and then you have to write it. Depends on how comfortable you are with writing, how easily you can write. I mean, that might take you, I mean, it might take me like 30 minutes to write an article. It might take someone else 3 hours. So it just depends on how much you want to do and how comfortable you are with it is how much time it'll take you. But I feel like the more writing you do, always, it's going to get easier.
Yeah.
You're going to get better at it, so it'll take less time.
That's right. The more you do it, that hot kitchen really does make a difference, as the case may be.
And in terms of the editorial independence that you and the other staff members have at the Egalitarian, how independent do you feel as compared to, say, maybe being a PR outlet for the administration?
I feel like we are very independent. We have been able to raise questions and criticize the school when we need to. Our advisor definitely stresses that we do have editorial independence. Like, he won't even tell us what to do. He'll make suggestions, But he tells us, he's like, I cannot legally tell you what to do.
Can you give us an example?
Well, just with the transformation and when we're raising questions or asking questions about it, like, you can be critical about this school. You can ask, why didn't you have, like, the budget figured out for the student life funds before the start of the fall semester? Like, you can raise the questions like that. Don't worry about what the administrators think. As long as you have a legitimate argument and you're well supported. I mean, our advisor emphasizes professionalism. You have to be professional in it. You can criticize. You can say what you want to say.
Let me ask you, what are your sources for news? Who do you go to for local news? Who do you go to for national and international?
I actually, I read NPR and then the Young Turks on YouTube. That's probably my two main sources that I regularly go to. Anything else, the Huffington Post shows up on my Facebook newsfeed a lot, so I'm always clicking on that. A lot of times I'll just go off what's on my Facebook newsfeed, what my friends are sharing, but my two regular ones would be like public radio, which I actually don't listen to it. I read the transcripts online.
And what are you looking for? Are you looking for topics that interest you? Is that what keeps you in those particular sources, or is it just easier?
Kind of both. Like, I like how they tell it, that they're unbiased, or if they do give an opinion, they say, well, this, like the Young Turks, they say, well, this is our opinion. I like how they report the news. I like the subjects that they choose, because they don't always choose, like, what's on the cable news channels all the time. Like, they talk about news that is, I feel like, is really news and I feel like is relevant. So that's why I like those two sources. And on my newsfeed, I mean, it's my friends who are sharing it, and they're sharing things that are relevant to them. So, and they're usually relevant to me too. So that's why I always find I like news that's relevant, and it is important, and it does affect the world. So that's kind of how I choose my news.
Do you have any historical heroes, sheroes, if you will, that maybe helped you in coming to making a decision to get into journalism? Is there, beyond Young Turks, NPR, and your friends on your feed?
Probably just because, like, I just kind of fell into journalism and I just ended up loving it. I haven't had that many idols yet, but I have had, like, news, probably, like, my advisor and some of the other newspaper people.
Hey, Fred.
Yes,
Hey,
different. Oh, I don't know if I can name anyone.
What do you think is one of the most important issues facing your generation?
I feel like for my generation, a big thing for us is the economy. I mean, that's what my friends talk about. Like, will we have jobs after graduation? Will there be jobs in my field? Will I make enough money to pay off student loan debt? Because even if we were not going into debt at Houston Community College, we all are very aware that there's going to be a very steep jump in tuition as soon as we transfer.
That's
so
right.
A lot of us we're mentally preparing for, like, just the sticker shock. I've had some friends who transfer and they tell me about that.
But you've already got half of the thing. You already know how to write for grants. You already know how to request for all sorts of charity aspects of it. So that's good. You're already halfway there, right?
That's true. So
Yeah.
there's always that worry, though, is the economy. So I feel like that's a big issue for my generation and just for anyone, all college students, is we worry about jobs. Will we have jobs? Will our degree be worth anything? All that. So we worry. I feel like that's a big issue.
Well, Alyssa Foley, thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate it. We especially appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
We've been talking with Alyssa Foley. She's editor-in-chief of the Houston Community College student-run newspaper, The Egalitarian. And you can find The Egalitarian at
HCCegalitarian.com.
HCCegalitarian.com.